meeting. Well, welcome, friends, and glad you could join us for our bi-monthly Children's Healthy Weight Coin peer sharing call. I'm Kinkini Banerjee, the Coalition Relations Director at USBC, and I'm joined by Miriam Rodriguez. Miriam, would you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Miriam. I'm the Coalition Relations Coordinator for USBC.
Wonderful. Thank you, Miriam. So we usually start with a quick round of introductions. So if you can see your panel, you can just go down that list. I think it's organized alphabetically. So go ahead, and if you could introduce yourselves, tell us your name, what state, and what organization you are from.
Good afternoon. My name is Ariana Kyle. I'm with the Wisconsin team and glad to be here today.
Welcome, Ariana. Betsy, are you on? Yeah.
Yeah. This is Betsy Danczak from the Louisiana team. It's good to be here with you all.
Welcome.
Hi, this is Diane Beth from the North Carolina team.
Wonderful. Welcome, Diane. Kelly, your line might be muted, but I see your chat. Kelly Strader is joining us from the Wisconsin Department of Health Services. Victoria Slaughter. All right, great. I'm glad you can hear us. Victoria is from the Arkansas State team. Wonderful, welcome. Marcy, are you able to unmute your line?
I am, and I just put a huge mouthful of food in my mouth.
We can wait.
Hey, everybody. Marcy Brewer from the Louisiana Department of Health in Louisiana Breastfeeding Coalition.
Welcome, Marcy. Nick?
Hey, Nick Reese. I'm the Obesity Prevention Coordinator for the Louisiana team.
Welcome, Nick.
This is Nicole Newman from Iowa. I'm the State Breastfeeding Coordinator for the WIC program, as well as on the State Breastfeeding Coalition.
Wonderful, welcome.
This is Nafla Poff from Wisconsin, and I am the Maternal and Child Health Equity Consultant.
Welcome, Nafla.
And this is Sandy Perkins. I am the Children's Healthy Weight Coin Project Manager from ASP.
Welcome, Sandy.
Hi, and I'm Michaela Schlosser. I'm with the North Dakota team and work with maternal and child health at our Department of Health.
Welcome, Michaela. The last person, is it Samaj? I see the name. If you can unmute your line.
Hi, just found it.
I'm the Breastfeeding Program Coordinator here for the Las Vegas Urban Lake WIC.
Las Vegas team.
Well, welcome. I think you might have, are you using either, if you're using the computer audio, then you might want to go to that audio tab and click the computer. And if you're using the phone, you might want to click, make sure that you're choosing the right option from the audio tab. Sometimes your computer audio might be on, and if you've called by phone, you get the feedback and echoes. So you want to make sure you can check that. Thanks. Anyone else who's joined us on the phone?
Well, good afternoon. This is Bridget Dutton and Richard Blaylock from the U.S. Department of Labor, Wage and Hour Division.
Welcome, Bridget and Richard. We're so happy to have you on our call today, and we know that we have a really good participation today. So many of our state team members are looking forward to hearing from you and sharing with you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else who hasn't introduced themselves yet? Okay, so like I said, the audio is sounding pretty good now. Are you all able to hear me without any feedback? Okay, great.
Yes.
So one thing that we'll do is when we do our updates or our discussion, if you hear any feedback or background sounds, then it's just a signal for us to mute our lines when someone else is speaking, and then we can unmute when it's our turn to speak. So that really helps get the background feedback down. And then again, so some of you are using your chat, so you can see, yep, these lines you have control over the mute, unmute on this line, but if you do prefer to use chat or you have audio issues, Miriam or I will be making sure to keep checking the chat from time to time so we don't miss your comments and feedback. And well, as always, this is an hour-long meeting, not a mandatory meeting, an optional meeting for both the technical intensive level as well as the technical assistance level states. And the purpose of this is where the breastfeeding teams get together. We share, there's a very loose agenda, share resources and updates. We are so glad to have our guest speakers today. And then if there are any specific TA needs that folks want that the group can provide or USBC can provide, we make sure to keep a note of that. And then as always, our meetings are on the last Thursdays of even months from 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern. So we've gone through these, and we can start with a very quick USBC updates for a couple minutes, and then we can move on to any state updates you have quickly. And then we'd love to have Richard and Bridget share with us what they do and how they can support us, and how we could better partner with them and other members of the wage and our division core specialists in other states as well. So hopefully we can do our updates brief. So Miriam, do you want to present the USBC updates, please? Miriam, your line might be muted.
Hi, I would be happy to. There might be a little bit of background noise. I hope that's okay.
Okay. Maybe why don't I do that then? I think the background sounds are a little too much. So thanks, Miriam. We have we had our Welcome Congress week last week, and which was a virtual Congress week where we welcomed the 116th Congress, and Amelia and I were also in DC to do a lot of the congressional visits. But one of the things that we do during the Welcome Congress is try and find out what our policy priorities should be for this legislative session. And we had asked our stakeholders. We got almost 2,000 responses to our survey asking us what your top 5 issues are. And though we have a bunch of other issues that we will continue to work on through this session through the years, but the top 5 that our stakeholders selected was in federal paid family leave, maintaining health plan coverage of breastfeeding support and supplies, supporting working parents, so workplace support is a big one. Number 3, maintaining federal funding for all breastfeeding support programs. And then finally, increasing access to lactation support providers. So embedded in this, and Miriam, if you can chat the link, we have a page on the USBC website, which is the Welcome Congress page. We created general fact sheets, about federal funding, which are for WIC, and CDC, and we have in each of these 5 topics, we have general fact sheets, and then of course a big part of the Welcome Congress is that we create customized fact sheets for every state about where the federal funds are going, what the breastfeeding rates are. So feel free to use these, customize them, change them up as you wish, but they are for you to use throughout the year to educate, to share. So we hope you find those resources helpful. And then February was Black History Month, so we really use this time to lift up, and I can, we curate, collate all of the resources that we can, but mainly kind of spotlighting the organizations that are really working on infant. Okay, so I am getting the wrong page for that. Let me see. There's a better link for this, Miriam. Let me see. It's the main page. So I think this link is not the right one. So let's go to the Black History Month page and see if that works. Miriam's chatted you the link, so you can go to the page and check out the Welcome Congress page and download the state fact sheets as well. So the Black History Month tools and resources, this is really kind of compiling any organizations that are working on maternal infant child health, specifically with the African American population, tools, resources, webinars that we found. So this has just a whole bunch of things, and then other organizations that are also collating, collecting, celebrating, advocating for health equity among our African American communities. We've put all of that together in this page. So again, very little is led by USBC in this field, but this is a time for us to kind of lift up and spotlight the many, many organizations who are working in this field and doing such impactful work. And then finally, last week, the Fairness for Breastfeeding Mothers Act has been introduced. So this is a bill. It's already passed the House. It's now in the Senate. That it requires that public buildings that are open to the public and contain, a restroom would also provide a lactation room that is hygienic and able to be used by members of the public. So there's good bipartisan support for it, and we think that it should clear the Senate and go to the president's desk for signing. So you might be seeing an action alert out asking you to sign or call your senators. And then February workplace webinars, we had 2 fabulous webinars from the Center for Work-Life Law. And then March, coming up, in the Power Tool series on March 20th, Alameda County from California will be talking about the innovative partnerships their coalition is doing to move the needle on breastfeeding initiation and duration, and improve the landscape of breastfeeding support. And then for our racial equity webinar, which is on 26th of March, the National Association of Peer Professional Lactation Support Providers of Color, they are going to do present a webinar. This is the first time I think we've had NAPLC present, and they will be talking about their sphere of and the scope of the work that they do to make lactation support accessible to all communities. So that is from us. State updates. Any folks want to go ahead and give us some updates? And I think we might have had folks join us since then. So is that Suzanne on the line? Suzanne, please.
Hi, yeah, this is Suzanne Haydu with the California Department of Public Health, Maternal Child Adolescent Health,
Wonderful.
and the California CoIIN.
Welcome to be here. So we could do a few state updates if you want, and then we can move to inviting Bridget and Richard to join us. So any quick updates folks want to share?
This is Marcy. I'm happy to share a little bit if that's helpful.
Thank you, Marcy.
Okay. All right. So nothing, like super duper amazing, but we've really been focusing on building our statewide work group and really trying to get some more kind of heavy hitters engaged. We've been working on I guess executing some outreach opportunities like with the Board of Regents, and then through our Well Ahead initiative, Nick is out there talking with employers, and we've been integrating breastfeeding, lactation accommodations into those conversations as well. We've also put a question out there. So one thing we really wanted to focus on was targeting large employers who have a large amount of lower wage earners. And so I think posed this question out to the group or maybe the CDC listserv or something like that. And yeah, Suzanne and Robbie Gonzalez replied with some suggestions in terms of how we could figure out who those employers are. So one suggestion was to look at the labor and census data for the state. So we're going to plan on doing that. And then also, because I'm embedded within the health department, we also have our home visiting program and WIC program as well. And so we are currently trying to gather information without being invasive, of course, to participants, and trying to identify some of those employers as well. So that's kind of looking at our notes. That's really what we've been focusing on at the moment. Anybody else from the Louisiana team want to add anything?
This is Betsy. No, I think you summarized it well, Marcy. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Marcy. That's important, kind of trying to, and I'm going to ask either Bridget or Richard to jump in as you feel. So many of our states are working on issues of workplace support. And these, as you're convening and thinking of like, what are those connections you need to make, who might be there? There are just so many, it's so complex and so many elements to think about. So yeah, thank you for that, Marcy.
Thank you. Well, and if anybody has any suggestions on who, has had a successful, high-level statewide work group on this, I would love any suggestions that anybody has too.
Great. Well, if there are no other updates at this time, we could, I'd be happy to, I'm really thrilled to have Richard Blaylock, who's the Executive Director of the DOL's Wage and our division at the Raleigh District Office in North Carolina, and Bridget Dutton, who's the Community Outreach and Resource Planning Specialist, of course, as they called at the Wage and Hour division. So we were lucky at USBC to have a meeting with Richard and Bridget last month, and so glad to see how determined you are to work with state health departments, coalitions, and employers and other stakeholders to support the compliance of the break time for nursing mothers. So this is a great chance. Bridget and Richard have ideas about a checklist, toolkit, things that might help employers as well as state health departments. So this is really an opportunity for them to share with us about what resources they are able to give us and what support they are able to give us, and hear from you. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Bridget and Richard.
Thank you, Kinkini. So much appreciate you all allowing us to be on your call today. And it's a joy listening to what's occurring in the realm of nursing mothers around the country at this point. My name is Richard, last name is Blaylock. I am the district director here in North Carolina, and we especially are concerned that employers understand their responsibilities when it comes to the provisions of the nursing mothers' responsibilities under the Fair Labor Standards Act. And in addition to that, that employees understand their rights under these laws. That sometimes I hear people, they want to peg the conversation with just mothers who've just had children, or women who are currently pregnant, anticipating the new life in a few months. But I really think the conversation should go to all women and actually all employees in an organization, so that they know what their rights are, what the responsibilities of an employer are, so that if they're anticipating having a family in the future and they're looking at their finances or their life choices, and whether they want to go back into the workforce or whether they have to go back into the workforce, and what all that's going to entail, that this be at least one subject area where they feel it's already been settled. Hey, if I choose to nurse my child, that's not going to be an issue. I know that I can go back into the workforce and have that conversation with my employer, and know that that's not going to have any adverse impact on the current job I am performing, or even my opportunity to continue have employment with that employer. So that's where we want to get. That we want to get to that point where that all women know that this is just a right that they have, that it goes without question, and that employers understand their responsibilities too. And so when they have those dialogues, that they move forward in a very matter-of-fact way, just as you would expect an employee to have a lunch break or anything else. So that's what we envision we'd like to do. We're also hoping that we can, and we're working currently with our national office right now, because we understand that they've had some communications with the U.S. Breastfeeding Association, and so we don't want to step on their toes in their activities, but at the same time, we want to use the resources we have here to help all the organizations where we can when it comes to our authority and what our responsibilities are. And maybe to the point of that, when you are communicating with the public, whether it be the women who may at some point choose to be nursing mothers, or employers, that you're better prepared to ask the right questions, so that you can engage both entities in an impactful way. So, Bridget.
Again, I'm Bridget Dutton, and my position here within the department is the Community Outreach and Resource Planning Specialist. There is one of me, or one of someone in my position in almost every office throughout the U.S. and Wage and Hour. And my job is not enforcement. It's primarily engagement with the community, making sure that employers and employees are aware of our laws, that employers are aware of their responsibility under those laws, and that employees are aware of their rights. And so nursing mothers is one component of that. The department does currently have some compliance assistance materials for employers and employees. Those consist of fact sheets, small checklists, and cards that women can take around that remind them of the things that an employer must provide in relation to the nursing mother's provision. And these are things that I can provide, links that I can provide to Kinkini to provide to all of you. We feel that, as Rick said, that it's important for employers to be proactive in this area, and so that they're not reactive when we come to conduct an investigation, but that they are proactive and they make mothers, whether they're currently nursing or thinking of nursing in the future, comfortable with their environment at their place of employment. And so we're excited to be on this call today. We appreciate the warm welcome we've received from Kinkini and others, and we hope that we can continue a collaborative relationship with you all in this area, whether it be hopefully through outreach events or webinars. But we think this is a relationship that we hope can be beneficial to both us and you all in the future. So with that, we can open it up to some questions if people have some.
Sounds great. And you can hear, I mean, we had smiles on our faces for that whole day after we had a conversation with Bridget and Richard to hear DOL folks say, we want to work to a place where this is not even a question. Women should be able to do that. So to see that commitment and mindset has just been so fantastic for us. So we see some questions here in the chat box. Bridget, Diane Beth is from North Carolina and they're wanting to have your contact information. Is it okay for us to post your emails here in the chat box? Would that be okay?
Sure. And we apologize. We're not able to see the chat right now because we've got a couple of other things happening. So if you could read us the questions,
sure,
I'd appreciate it. But sure, you can share my email.
Wonderful. And we did, Miriam just posted the link for the flyer that you have with all of the different division state offices. Marcy has a question. Does every state have a community outreach and resource planning specialist that one can contact?
Currently, not every state. We hope in the future that every state does have one. But there is a directory, which, Kinkini, I don't know if you have that. I think I provided it to you. But if not, I can also send you that link, and it'll let you all know the community outreach coordinators, office locations, phone numbers, emails, etc.
Wonderful. I think we just posted that one. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Bridget. Any folks, other questions are coming in? Okay, so Diane is asking, could you share a little bit more about how you'd, within a state, how would you, about what you would do from your office within a state in regarding to breastfeeding and the law? What are some ways we know about the investigation or things, but prior to that, any other outreach?
Well, we're primarily an enforcement agency, so we react to information that we receive where we believe an employer may not be in full compliance with any one of a number of laws that we enforce. So, traditionally, you maybe get a call from a mother who's come back from maternity leave and notified her employer that she wants to breastfeed, and then is running into some difficulty. In those cases, because of the urgency with which this issue needs to be addressed, we would react to those justifiable calls almost immediately. We're very, very busy agency, and we've got hundreds of investigations that we're performing at any one time. I have a relatively large office with a pretty good sized staff still. So, and nursing mothers is just one portion of that. but because of the fact that, you know, if this doesn't get resolved in a relatively quick way, you know, the nursing mother may not physically be able to breastfeed their child. So that's why we make that a priority. Ideally, we'd like to meet with employers before we ever have an investigation, where we have an opportunity to talk to them about what their responsibilities are across, you know, a myriad of laws that we enforce, including nursing mothers. So as your organizations would maybe meet with an association that represents a certain industry, or human resource group or something like that, that would be interested in, you know, knowing more about responsibilities in this area, you know, maybe we at Wage Hour can also be a part of that conversation in those particular industries or you know, events that occur where we can meet employers and get them on the right foot before we have to do an investigation.
And Rick makes a good point. We realized here, at least in North Carolina, we were somewhat lacking in terms of outreach in this area. And that's why developing relationships with groups such as yourself is so crucial to us, because you already have the ear of lots of organizations and coalitions that you can spread our message for us, let women know that we're here to help them, and let employers know there are consequences if they don't follow the provision.
And we're here to help them also. If they've got confusions about the law, how to implement it, you know, they can certainly reach out to us also.
Wonderful. Thank you. Questions? I see a chat from Suzanne saying that California, yep, another bill in California about state workers and bringing baby to work as well. So yes, California has been is having a busy bill season, and then of course the Bill 142. Is that the sign-on deadline is tomorrow, right?
For the first bill, I don't know.
So this is a state bill that requires employers to have a written lactation policy and provide employees with a safe and comfortable lactation space that meets minimum requirements. So this is a state bill that has just that's in this current session. This is a California state bill, and encourages the DOL standards enforcement to provide a set of lactation accommodation best practices and a model policy for employers. Is there anything like that Bridget and Richard, you all have seen? Model policy best practices?
Right. We applaud states that, you know, take a lead in any law that, you know, where the federal government has a foundation to it. Just like the federal government has a foundational minimum wage law at $7.25 an hour, but I think at this point more than half of the states in this country have minimum wage law requirements within their state that are somewhat higher than that. And the same when it comes with the nursing mothers regulations. You know, we applaud any state that wishes to take on a more of a responsibility, but we really can't speak of them because that's outside my realm of authority.
Yours is compliance with the federal laws, right?
Yes.
Right. Yeah, correct.
Yeah. You had mentioned some kind of checklist that you might be working on. What were you thinking about that, Bridget?
Well, this is something that we have to work with our national office on before we would disseminate anything. But the checklist for us was going to help you all, especially when talking to mothers or potential mothers and providing referrals, things that you would ask of them in order to help us in the event that they wanted to file a complaint.
Nice. That's feedback from folks about what you'd like to have included in the checklist, or other things what you found in your own states as you're working on this.
This is Diane from North Carolina. I mean, I think certainly a checklist and directory would be helpful. But obviously, and if it was something that was meant to be provided directly to mothers or potential nursing mothers, then obviously it being available in a variety of languages and sort of at a good reading level.
Yeah, currently all we have is kind of a wallet-sized card that opens up for mothers in somewhat plain language, but I think right now it's only in 3 languages, English, Spanish, and Chinese. But I would love for you to look at that and see if you feel there could be some improvements to it. Our national office is always looking for suggestions on ways to change publications so that they are more user-friendly. So I can provide King Kenny with the link to share that with all of you, and if you have suggestions, please pass them my way.
That would be great.
Yeah. Do you, Bridget, did you say you had sent me the link for the card? I can check through mine and show it to folks right now
I think in one of our previous email streams it was in there. If not, I can grab it, send it to you right after the call.
Okay. Folks, continue your discussion. I'm going to just pause my screen for a bit and see if I have it, and then I'll chat that link to in the chat box so you can give some feedback in real time if you can.
Well, this is Diane again. I know I had put a couple questions in the chat. One of them was generally, how would a mother know about their rights, and then how would they know to contact your agency?
That's an excellent question. And currently, there is a Nursing Mothers poster that we provide to employers, and you hit it right on the nail head with that question. So many people may not even be aware that there's a federal law providing them protections in this area. So the importance of getting, what I talked about earlier about educating employers, one of the requirements of an employer is to have this poster up in a place where they keep other regulatory posters necessary for their workers to see, so that it's there, they can see it.
Okay. Yeah, I think if you can provide a link to King Kenny for that, that would be helpful for us to know about.
Right. If she can't find the links during this call, I'll make sure to send all of them to her so that you all have access and you can provide any feedback.
Sure.
I'm posting these in the chat. I just found a bunch of the frequently asked questions, the employee rights card about the break time. So putting these in the chat box for you all.
Did you have one more question, Diane?
Well, I put in the chat. I just didn't want to, in case somebody else wanted to read it. So I just had asked if there was something else on your website or someone else's website that sort of spells out clearly about the law, because I do think people get confused as to whether they're covered by the law. I mean, I feel like I'm not an expert in this area myself, so I always feel like it's, some people are exempt, some are non-exempt, and, it's like, so something that spells that out pretty clearly, it would be certainly helpful. Oh, and I see something coming up. Thank you, Kenny.
Sure. So this is the frequently asked questions, like are these for workers, for employers, for states, how to file a complaint? Are most of you familiar with this part of the site?
This is Diane. I haven't looked at that recently, so thank you.
Okay, and I'm going to get that workers' right card out of just in a second.
King Kenny, did I also provide you with the link to the poster and fact sheet?
Yes, there's a fact sheet, there's a frequently asked question, there's the how to file a complaint card. No poster.
Okay, I'll send you that after the call.
Oh, maybe this is this, can you see our screen? Can you see my screen? This might be, this is the double-sided card. How do I flip? So can you all see this one? This would be good to have. It's a double-sided pass. I think this is your poster, right? Is this
or is it a card? Is it the wallet-sized card?
That looks like the little card. We use that in the state of Iowa.
Yeah.
But haven't ordered it for several years, I don't think. Is that something that's free to order?
Yes, it is.
Oh, great. And you just contact the website there, right?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Does it
now,
matter?
For larger quantities, you would probably need to go through the core in your state, because I think you can order 5 of something at a time through the website.
Okay, so you would just need to get in contact.
Right. Based on that directory that Kilkenny sent out.
Yeah, that link, the PDF flyer that was posted should have one for your state.
Thank you.
Now, if
I was curious where she
any
got
of
this.
you, if any of you do not have a core in your state, feel free to contact me.
This is Sandy, and I was going to say there was a question about that from Kelly Stater from Wisconsin that I've lost now. That said, if you don't have a core on that list, what do you do, and what is available to states that are not on the outreach staff list, and can they be covered by a neighboring state, or what should they do?
Well, in terms of coordination, you could go through me, and then I could contact that local office. Many times, even if there's not a core, someone may be acting in that role, maybe dually. So there may be an assistant district director that's also heavily involved in the outreach. So I can make those connections for you.
Wonderful, Bridget. So we've put Bridget's email in the chat box again. So feel free. So this is the fact sheet, the break time for nursing mothers, and this we can download. This is really good. I have one more.
Susan had another question. Her mic isn't working right now, but I can read it out. California has a high-level work group that includes DOL and our labor commissioner. I used to maintain Q&As as I had to respond to our Department of Public Health. Now I just refer to the DOL and the labor commissioner, and they respond in excellent collaboration.
Thank you. So most states have the same kind of setup. Labor commissioner that does. That's really good to know, Suzanne, that you all have had a lot of connections with the DOL in your state.
Yes, where those states have nursing and other provisions, chances are their provisions, their standards are going to be higher than what the federal government has. So I would encourage you that have those state provisions to seek out those commissioners or whomever the contact person is first, and see what may be available in the way of protections and assistance. But we at the Department of Labor, Federal Department of Labor, are also available if you need our assistance.
Wonderful. So Richard, if for our state teams that are working with different stakeholder groups, they could, if they have a core office, a specialist in their state, they could call and invite them to stakeholder meetings and things as we know you are stretched, but that part of doing outreach or move coming in and providing updates at meetings or summits and things are part of your work?
Kitty, I think that's an excellent suggestion. We collaborate all the time with our sister agencies here in North Carolina, where we have like-minded interests when it comes to various enforcement requirements. So absolutely, if you have a state that has a regulatory requirement regarding nursing mothers, I would encourage you to invite them to become part of your stakeholder teams. They may very much appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, and we'd love to see DOL be seen, as a partner rather than, oh, they are the, we've done something wrong, that folks feel they can ask you and be okay asking, are we screwing up or are we doing something wrong and we'd like to fix things. So that partnership would be really great to build. Any other questions? I see some. Oh, go ahead, Richard. Sorry.
No, I just going to say, information. I don't want to sound kind of corny here, but information sets us all free. Once you understand what rights are, employers, employees, you can get through the mystique or the confusion, and you know more clearly where you stand.
Absolutely. I think there might be one more link that I need to show. Any other questions? And we had the fact sheet, the frequently asked questions, the employee rights break card, employee rights card about the break time, and then how to file a complaint card. So all these 4 links are, as well as the flyer of all of the contact information is there. And as Bridget said, if your state doesn't have, of course, office or contact, then you could contact her and she would work that out. Well, thank you so much. Are there any other questions? If not, I want us to wrap up, but yes, Diane, yes, all of these links are going in the resource. I have a resource page as well, so yes, we'll put that in.
And Kenny, this is Bridget. I did send you the poster link.
Okay.
Just now, so.
Just now? Okay, I will include that. So I have this, I don't know if you can see my screen, but I usually create a quick resource list for folks to, so I'll add all of these links in the resource list and send you as well.
And the resource list is posted on the ASPHN Children's Healthy Weight CoIIN page.
Thank you, Sandy. Any other questions, folks? Great. Any closing thoughts from you, Richard and Bridget? And again, we can't thank you enough for being here. And we know that we'll be passing on your contact information to our other state teams as well.
Well, Kenny, we feel the same way. We can't do the work that we do without, assistance from, folks like yourself who also have an invested interest in this area. So, we rely on other organizations to help us get the word out and help educate. And we so appreciate the invite, and just thank you for the time.
I just wholeheartedly echo Rick's sentiments, and thank you again for allowing us to be on, and we hope that we can further this relationship in the future.
Great, thank you so much. And I'm showing you the poster that Bridget just sent me the PDF, so I'm adding this to the list as well. So any other closing thoughts from our folks on the call? Well, if not, thank you all so much for being here. So I'll send the resource list with all of these information, and please share with the members of your team that haven't been able to join us. Thanks everyone so much. Until next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.